My name is Marcus Webb, and I've lived next door to Daniel Harper for nearly 18 years. We're the kind of neighbors who became friends without ever planning it. Started with borrowing tools, graduated to beer in the garage on Friday nights, fishing trips twice a year. If you told me back in 2007 that I'd be the one to witness Danny's entire marriage collapse over a Christmas bonus and a used Chevrolet, I'd have laughed in your face. But what he did next, I never thought my quiet, even-tempered neighbor had it in him, and the whole town found out at the Harper family Christmas dinner. I was there. I saw everything. Let me back up. Danny and I both work blue-collar jobs. I drive a semi for a regional hauling company. He's a senior technician at the municipal water treatment plant. Good, steady work. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills and then some if you're smart about it. Our houses are modest three-bedroom ranch styles in a neighborhood where everyone knows everyone, where you wave at people mowing their lawns on Saturday mornings, where the sound of a basketball bouncing in a driveway is the soundtrack of summer evenings. Danny's wife, Christine, always struck me as, well, I'm going to be honest here. She struck me as someone who married Danny because he was safe, reliable, the kind of man who'd never forget an anniversary or leave the toilet seat up. She was pretty in that high-maintenance way, always had her nails done, always dressed like she was heading somewhere more important than the grocery store. Her family, the Castellanos, they had money once. Old money that got spent somewhere along the way, but they still acted like they were sitting on a fortune. Christine's mother, Rita, lived in a big old Victorian on the other side of town that was slowly falling apart, but she'd sooner die than admit the paint was peeling. Christine's brother, Eric, was a different story altogether. That guy went through business ideas like I go through coffee, fast and in bulk. Every time I saw Danny over the fence, Eric had a new opportunity. First it was a food truck, then it was some kind of app, then it was a landscaping business, which lasted about 6 months before the equipment got repossessed. Danny never said much about it, but I could see it in his face every time Eric's name came up, that tight smile, the way his jaw would set.
The thing about Danny is he's got this quiet strength to him. He's not loud, doesn't brag, doesn't make a fuss. He goes to work, comes home, takes care of his lawn, fixes things around the house. He's got 2 kids. Michael was 16 at the time, Sarah was 13. Good kids. Michael played JV basketball, Sarah was in the school orchestra. Danny never missed a game or a concert. I'd see him loading the kids into his truck on Saturday mornings, heading to practices or lessons or whatever. He was present, really present. That November, I remember it was a Thursday evening, cold enough that I could see my breath. I was in my garage organizing my fishing gear, getting ready to put it away for the winter, when Danny came walking across the lawn.
He had his hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets, and even from 20 feet away I could see something was eating at him. "Beer?" I called out. "Yeah," he said. "Yeah, I could use one." I grabbed 2 cold ones from the mini fridge I keep out there, popped them open, handed him one. We stood there for a minute, not saying anything, just drinking and watching the last bit of daylight fade behind the Johnson's house across the street. "Got my year-end bonus notification today," Danny finally said. "Yeah? That's good news, right?" He took a long pull from the beer. $8,000. After taxes, probably $6,200, $6,300. I whistled. "Damn, Danny, that's solid. Water department's doing right by you. Christine wants me to give it to Eric." I almost choked on my beer.
Come again? Eric's got this new thing, some kind of pressure washing business. Commercial buildings, apartment complexes, that kind of thing. He needs $15,000 to get the equipment, the insurance, the licensing. Christine's mother is putting in $7,000. Christine wants me to put in the rest. I didn't know what to say to that. I took another drink, buying time. "What do you want to do with it?" Danny stared out at the street. A couple of kids rode by on bikes, racing each other, their laughter carrying in the cold air. "My dad's truck died last month. Transmission shot. He's 71 years old, Marcus. He's been driving that same F-150 since 2004. It's got 230,000 miles on it.
He can't afford to fix it, and he sure as hell can't afford to replace it. Your old man's still living out in Hadleyville? Yeah, 30-minute drive to the grocery store, 45 to the doctor. He's too proud to ask me for help, but I see him struggling. I was thinking maybe I could find him something reliable. Not new, but good. Something that'll last him the rest of his life." I nodded slowly. That's a good son talking right there. Christine doesn't see it that way. She says family comes first. I said, "Dad is family." She said, "I mean my family." He finished his beer, crushed the can in his hand. She actually said that, Marcus.
My family comes first. We stood there in the dark of my garage, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead, and I could feel the weight of 18 years of marriage pressing down on him. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "I don't know yet," he said, "but I'm thinking about it real hard." Over the next couple of weeks, I started noticing things, little things. Through my kitchen window, which faces their house, I could see into their living room. The arguments started getting more frequent. I couldn't hear the words, but I could see the body language. Christine with her arms crossed, Danny with his hands out like he was trying to explain something, trying to reason. One night I saw her throw a magazine at him. It fluttered harmlessly to the floor, but the gesture said everything. Then there was Thanksgiving. The Harpers always did Thanksgiving at Rita's house, the big Victorian with the peeling paint. Danny invited me and my wife over for a beer the Sunday after, and he looked exhausted. "How was Turkey Day?" I asked. He gave me this hollow laugh. Eric spent 2 hours pitching his business plan at the dinner table while we were eating. Christine kept looking at me like I was personally responsible for crushing her brother's dreams. Jesus. Rita cornered me in the kitchen, told me that Eric's got real potential and that sometimes you have to invest in family. She actually used the word invest, like this is some kind of Wall Street deal and not the 5th failed business in 7 years. "What'd you say?" I said I'd think about it. He paused.
Marcus, here's the thing. I looked into Eric's track record. Really looked into it. You know that food truck? He got shut down by the health department after 3 months. The app? He never actually built the app. He just paid some guy $2,000 to make a prototype that didn't work. The landscaping business? He bought all the equipment on credit and then couldn't get enough clients to make the payments. This pressure washing thing? I did some research. The market's saturated around here. There are already 5 established companies. The startup costs are way higher than he's saying. And Eric's never stuck with anything long enough to make it profitable. I could see where this was going. Danny's not just a good man. He's a smart man, detail-oriented.
The kind of guy who reads the fine print. "So what's the play?" I asked. "I'm going to buy Dad a truck," he said quietly. "I've been looking. There's a 2015 Silverado at a dealership over in Franklin. One owner, 70,000 miles, clean title. They want $7,000. I can probably get them down to 6,500. It's got another 100,000 miles in it easy. And Christine? I'm going to tell her after I do it." The week before Christmas, I was shoveling my driveway after a light snow when I saw Danny pull out early in the morning. It was a Saturday, around 8. He waved at me as he drove past. I didn't think much of it, figured he was running errands. He came back about 4 hours later, and he wasn't alone. Behind his truck was a silver Chevrolet Silverado. Clean, shining in the weak December sunlight. I leaned my shovel against my garage and walked over as he was parking both vehicles in his driveway. "You did it," I said. He got out of his truck, and for the first time in weeks, I saw something like peace in his face. "I did it." "How'd your dad react?" Danny's eyes got a little wet. "I drove out to Hadleyville this morning, told him I needed his help looking at a truck I was thinking about buying. We went to the dealership. I test drove it, asked him what he thought. He said it was a good truck, solid. Then I signed the papers and handed him the keys. He must have lost it. He tried to refuse, said he couldn't accept it. I told him," Danny's voice caught, "I told him he'd driven me everywhere when I was a kid. Every baseball practice, every doctor's appointment, every job interview. I told him he'd worked himself half to death to make sure I had what I needed, and now it was my turn." He cried, Marcus. My dad hasn't cried since my mom died 11 years ago, but he stood there in that parking lot and cried. I clapped him on the shoulder. Didn't trust myself to say anything for a moment. "Christine doesn't know yet?" I asked. "She took the kids to her mother's house this morning, some Christmas craft thing. They won't be back until dinner." He looked at his watch. "About 2 hours. You need me to be around?" He shook his head. "No, but thanks. I'll let you know how it goes." I didn't have to wait long. About 7:30 that evening, I was in my living room watching a basketball game when I heard the shouting. Not muffled shouting, but the kind that comes through walls and windows even when everything's closed up against the winter cold. I got up, went to my front window. The lights were on in Danny's house, and I could see shapes moving behind the curtains. The shouting got louder. I heard Christine's voice high and sharp. "You did what?" Then Danny's, calmer but firm. "I bought my father a truck. That was our money. It was my bonus that I earned. We're a team. You don't make decisions like that without me." "You mean like how you decided to promise Eric the money without asking me?" There was a pause. "Then that's different. That's family. So is my father." The argument went on for another 20 minutes. I felt like a creep standing there listening, but I was also worried about Danny. Finally, the shouting stopped. I saw Christine's silhouette move past the window, then the front door opened and she stormed out to her car, fired it up, and peeled out of the driveway. The kids weren't with her. They must have still been at Rita's. I gave it 10 minutes, then texted Danny. "You okay?" He texted back. "Been better. She's at her mother's. Told me not to expect her back tonight. You need anything?" "No, thanks for asking." The next morning, Sunday, I saw Danny loading some boxes into his truck. He caught me looking and came over to the fence between our properties. "Moving out?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. "No," he said, "taking some stuff to Dad's, some of Mom's old Christmas decorations that were in our attic. Figured he could use them." "How's Christine?" "Still at Rita's. She's been texting me. Says I'm selfish. Says I'm destroying her family's chance at financial security. Says I clearly don't care about her or the kid's future." He rubbed his face. "Marcus, I've been with this woman for 19 years. We started dating when we were both 23. I've never once not put her and the kids first. Not once. But Eric, he's like this black hole. Money just disappears around him."
And I'm supposed to throw my bonus into that void and hope this time it's different? You're not wrong, Danny. Then why do I feel like such a bastard? Because she's making you feel that way. That's what people do when they can't win an argument with logic. They go for the guilt. He nodded slowly. Rita called me this morning, told me I was an ungrateful son-in-law, that after everything Christine's done for me, this is how I repay her. I asked what exactly Christine had done for me that I hadn't done for her times 10, and Rita hung up. "This is going to get worse before it gets better," I said. "I know." Christine came back that evening. I know because I heard the car door slam. What I didn't hear was any more shouting. It got quiet over there. Real quiet.
The kind of quiet that's worse than screaming. Over the next week, leading up to Christmas, I'd see Danny in the mornings before work. We'd wave to each other, sometimes chat over the fence about nothing important. He looked tired. Not beaten, but tired, like he was carrying something heavy. The Wednesday before Christmas, he came over after work. I was stringing up some lights on the porch that I'd put off too long. "Christine's barely speaking to me," he said without preamble. "The kids know something's wrong, but we're trying to keep them out of it. Eric keeps calling, texting, saying I'm ruining his life. Rita sent me a 5-page email about family loyalty and Christian values. The whole Castellano plan is treating me like I kicked a puppy." "But your dad?" Danny's face softened. "He called me last night. Drove to the store for the first time in a month without having to bum a ride. Said the truck drives like a dream. Said he's going to visit his brother upstate after New Year's. Hasn't been able to do that in 2 years because his old truck wouldn't make the trip." He paused. "That phone call was worth every penny and every bit of grief, Marcus. You did the right thing." "Yeah," he said. "Yeah, I did. Now I just have to live with the consequences." Christmas Eve came. The Harper's tradition was to do presents and dinner on Christmas Eve at their house, then drive to Rita's on Christmas Day for the big family gathering. I figured this year's Christmas Day event was going to be tense as hell, but Danny was committed to going. For the kids, he told me. Christmas Eve at their house was quiet. I could see through the windows, lights on the tree, presents underneath, the family going through the motions. It looked normal from the outside, but I knew better. Christmas Day arrived cold and clear. Danny came over while he was loading presents into his truck. "Wish me luck," he said. "You sure you want to do this? The kids want to see their cousins, and honestly, I'm done hiding. I did nothing wrong. I'm not going to slink around like I committed a crime." "You're a braver man than me," he laughed. "We'll see about that." They left around 11. I went about my day. My own kids were coming over that afternoon, flying in from Seattle. I didn't think much more about the Harpers until my phone buzzed around 4 in the afternoon. It was a text from Danny. "You won't believe what just happened." I called him immediately. "You okay? Kids okay?" "Everyone's fine," he said, and there was something in his voice, not quite laughter, but close. "Marcus, you should have been here. Tell me." What Danny told me over the phone, and what he later filled in with more details over beers the following week, was this. The Harper family Christmas dinner at Rita's house was exactly as awkward as expected. About 20 people, Christine's extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, Rita presiding over everything like a queen at court. Danny and Christine and the kids arrived, and immediately Danny could feel the chill. People were polite but distant. Eric was there, of course, with his girlfriend, both of them giving Danny cold stares. They made it through appetizers, through the main meal. Everyone was being excruciatingly civil, making small talk about the weather and TV shows and anything except the elephant in the room. Then came dessert. Rita stood up at the head of the table to make her annual Christmas toast. She started with the usual, grateful for family, blessed to have everyone together, hope for the new year. Then she pivoted. "Of course," Rita said, her voice taking on an edge, "we've had some disappointments this year. Some people who forgot what family means, who put their own selfish desires ahead of helping those they claim to love." Danny told me he just sat there, fork halfway to his mouth, watching this play out. Christine jumped in. "Mom, we don't need to do this now." "Oh, I think we do, dear. Because your husband needs to understand something." Rita turned to look directly at Danny. "Eric came to us with a legitimate business opportunity, a real chance to build something. And you, Daniel, you decided that buying your father a luxury vehicle was more important than helping your brother-in-law achieve his dreams." Danny set down his fork.
First of all, Rita, it wasn't a luxury vehicle, it was a used truck. Second, my father needed reliable transportation. He's 71 years old. Third, Eric's business opportunity is his 5th failed venture in 7 years. Eric hasn't failed, Rita's voice rose. He's been learning. Every entrepreneur faces setbacks. An entrepreneur plans, researches, actually follows through. Eric quits the second things get hard. Eric stood up.
You son of a... Sit down, Eric. Danny's voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room. I'm not done. Everyone went silent. Danny told me later that he hadn't planned what happened next. It just came out. You want to talk about family? Danny said. Let's talk about it. Christine, how much money have we given your family over the years? Take a guess. Christine's face went pale. Danny, don't. No, seriously. Take a guess. He pulled out his phone. Because I know exactly. I've been keeping track. Not because I'm petty, but because I like to know where our money goes. So let's see. He scrolled through his phone. $2,000 to Eric for the food truck deposit that he never got back. $1,500 for the app developer.
$4,000 for the landscaping equipment down payment before he defaulted. $3,000 last year when Rita's roof leaked and she couldn't afford the repairs. $800 for Michael's birthday party that Christine insisted we throw at that expensive restaurant because family expects it. $600. Stop it! Christine was on her feet now. Danny looked at her. $14,300. That's how much of our money has gone to your family in the last 7 years. Want to know how much we've borrowed from them? 0. Want to know how much help they've offered us when we needed it? Also 0. That's not fair, Rita said, her voice shaking. My father, Danny continued, has asked me for money exactly twice in my entire adult life.
Once when my mom was sick and the insurance wouldn't cover one of her medications. Once when his property taxes went up unexpectedly. Both times, he paid me back within 6 months. Both times, it was under $1,000. He worked himself to the bone to raise me and my sister. He taught me what family means. And you want to tell me that buying him a reliable vehicle with my money that I earned is selfish? The room was dead silent. Danny stood up. We're leaving. Christine didn't move. If you walk out that door, Daniel Harper, you'll regret it. He looked at her. The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. Kids, get your coats. Michael and Sarah, Danny told me, moved like they'd been waiting for permission. They grabbed their jackets and were at the door in seconds.
Danny followed them. Christine stayed at the table. Christine, Danny said from the doorway, you coming? She looked at her mother, looked at Eric, looked at Danny. No, she said finally. I'm staying here. This is my family. Danny nodded once. Okay then. And he left. With his kids, without his wife. They showed up at my house about 20 minutes later. I was in the kitchen with my daughter and son-in-law when there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Danny standing there with Michael and Sarah, all 3 of them looking shell-shocked. Can we come in? Danny asked. Of course. Jesus, Danny, what happened? He told me the broad strokes while my wife got the kids set up with hot chocolate and cookies in the living room with our kids. Michael and Sarah seemed dazed, but not upset, more like they'd just witnessed something they knew was important but didn't fully understand yet. She chose, Danny said quietly. When it came down to it, Christine chose her mother and brother over her own family. She might just need time to cool off. No, he shook his head. You should have seen her face, Marcus. She wasn't angry. She was resolute, like she'd made a decision and was sticking with it. What are you going to do? I don't know. Right now, I'm just trying to get through today. He glanced toward the room where his kids were laughing at something my daughter said. Can they hang out here for a bit? I need to make some phone calls. Stay as long as you want. Stay for dinner if you need to. They did. The kids blended right in, and by the end of the evening, Michael and Sarah seemed almost normal, resilient, the way kids can be when they know at least one parent is solid. Danny got a text from Christine around 8 that night. I'm staying at my mother's tonight. We need to talk tomorrow. He showed me the text. What do I say? Whatever you need to say. But Danny, don't apologize for doing the right thing. The next day, Boxing Day, Christine came home. I saw her car pull into the driveway around 10 in the morning. She went inside. An hour later, she came back out, got in her car, and left again. This time, she had suitcases. Danny called me that afternoon. She's moving in with her mother. Temporarily, she says. She wants space to think. How are the kids taking it? Better than I expected. Michael told me this morning that he's proud of me. Said it was about time someone stood up to Grandma Rita. Danny's voice cracked a little. My 16-year-old son is proud of me for causing his parents' separation. What kind of backwards world is this? The kind where you did the right thing and he's old enough to see it. The weeks after Christmas were rough. Christine stayed at Rita's. She and Danny communicated mostly through text about the kids' schedules. Michael and Sarah stayed with Danny during the week, went to Rita's on weekends. The whole neighborhood knew something was up. You can't hide this kind of thing in a place where everyone knows everyone.
I made a point of checking in on Danny every few days. Sometimes we'd just sit in his garage, drinking beer, not saying much. Other times he'd talk about the marriage, about where things went wrong, about whether he could have handled things differently. "I keep going back to it," he said one night in mid-January. "Could I have been more diplomatic? Could I have found a compromise?" "Danny, you tried for weeks to reason with her. She didn't want a compromise. She wanted you to fall in line." 19 years, Marcus. Almost 20. We built a whole life together. 2 kids, this house, and it's falling apart because I bought my dad a truck. It's falling apart because she valued her family's wants over your family's needs.
That's not on you. He nodded, but I could see he was still working through it. In February, Christine filed for separation. Not divorce yet, but legal separation. Danny hired a lawyer, Pete Hernandez, a guy I'd recommended who'd helped my cousin through a messy split. Pete was good, methodical, didn't play games. I ran into Danny at the hardware store one Saturday afternoon. He looked better than he had in weeks. Still tired, but there was something different in his eyes. "How's it going?" I asked. "Pete thinks Christine's eventually going to file for divorce. She's not interested in counseling, not interested in working things out. She wants the house, wants full custody, wants half my pension. Can she get all that?" Danny smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, but it wasn't defeated either.
That's where it gets interesting. Remember how I said I like to keep track of where our money goes? Yeah? Pete's calling it a financial history. I've got receipts, bank statements, credit card records going back years. Every penny we've spent, where it went, who it went to. Turns out all that money we gave to the Castellanos, that's documented. Every loan Eric never paid back, every gift to Rita, every expensive family event Christine insisted on, it's all there, black and white. Is that going to help? Pete says it establishes a pattern, shows that Christine prioritized her birth family over our marriage and our kids, combined with the fact that she's the one who moved out, the one who refused counseling, the one who's living at her mother's house.
Yeah, it helps. What about the kids? Michael and Sarah both told the court-appointed mediator they want to live with me. They'll visit Christine, but they want their primary residence to be with me. Sarah actually said Dad's the one who's always been there for us. Christine didn't take that well, I could imagine. Spring came. The trees started budding, the days got longer, and the Harper separation became old news in the neighborhood. I'd see Danny out mowing his lawn, working on his truck, shooting baskets with Michael in the driveway. Sarah had a friend over one afternoon, and I heard them giggling on the porch. It looked almost normal. One evening in late April, Danny knocked on my door holding a six-pack. "Wanted to thank you," he said. "For what?" "For being there."
For listening, for not judging. We sat on my porch watching the sun go down, drinking beer like we'd done 100 times before. "Christine officially filed for divorce last week," he said. "Pete says we should have everything settled by summer. She's not getting the house, she's the one who left, and the kids are with me. She'll get a share of the pension, but not what she was asking for. The documented financial history helped a lot. Turns out judges don't look kindly on one spouse systematically funneling marital assets to their family while the other spouse is trying to be responsible. How do you feel?" He thought about it for a long minute. Sad, angry, relieved. All of it. He took a drink. But mostly, I feel like I can breathe again.
Like I'm not constantly walking on eggshells waiting for the next crisis with Eric or the next demand from Rita. The kids are doing okay. Better than okay, actually. We have dinner together every night. We talk. Really talk. Michael's thinking about colleges. Sarah made first chair in orchestra. It's good, Marcus. It's really good. What about your dad? Danny grinned. Drove up to see his brother last month, like he planned. Made the trip no problem. Called me from the road to tell me the truck was running like a top. He's going to come down for Michael's graduation in June. First time he will have been here in 3 years. You did good, Danny. Yeah, he said quietly. Yeah, I think I did. It's been a year and a half since that Christmas dinner now. The divorce is final.
Christine remarried last fall, some guy she met through her mother's church. Eric's pressure washing business never materialized. Last I heard, he's working as a shift manager at a fast food place and talking about going back to school. Rita's still in that big Victorian, still acting like the world owes her something. Danny's doing fine, better than fine. He got promoted to plant supervisor last spring. Michael's a senior now, got accepted to 3 state universities. Sarah's thriving. Danny started dating someone a few months ago, a woman named Jen who works at the library. I've met her a couple times. She seems good for him. Grounded, kind, doesn't come with family drama. His father came down for Thanksgiving last year, drove all the way from Hadleyville in that Silverado.
It's got 95,000 miles on it now, still running strong. The old man looked good, healthier than I'd seen him in years. He and Danny went fishing with me and my son-in-law. We didn't catch much, but we had a hell of a good time. I see Danny most mornings before work.
We still wave to each other over the fence, still grab beers on Friday nights when the weather's nice. The difference now is that when I look at him, I don't see that weight anymore. That constant tension of trying to please everyone, of sacrificing himself on the altar of family obligation. He's lighter now, freer. You know what I learned from all this? I learned that there's a difference between family and family. Blood doesn't automatically make someone worth your sacrifice.
Real family, the kind that matters, is the people who show up for you, who support you, who don't just take and take and take while calling it love. Danny's father was family. His kids are family. Christine and her mother and Eric, they were relatives, and there's a world of difference between the two. I also learned that sometimes the quietest man on the block has the loudest truth. Danny didn't make a scene. He didn't plot elaborate revenge. He didn't try to destroy anyone. He just did what was right. He bought his father a truck. He stood his ground when he was attacked for it, and he let the chips fall where they may. And yeah, his marriage fell apart. But I wonder sometimes if it wasn't already broken.
If maybe Christine had been choosing her birth family over her husband and kids for years, and that Christmas dinner was just the moment it all came to a head. Maybe Danny didn't break his marriage. Maybe he just finally stopped holding together something that was already in pieces. I think about this when I see young couples in the neighborhood starting out their lives together. I want to tell them, choose your partner. Every day, every decision, choose your partner and the life you're building together. Don't let anyone, not your parents, not your siblings, not anyone, convince you that their needs automatically come before your family's needs. Build your boundaries early and hold them. But I don't say any of that. People have to learn their own lessons.
All I can do is be the kind of neighbor and friend that Danny needed. Someone who listens without judgment, who offers a beer and a sympathetic ear, who shows up when it counts. Last week, I was putting up my Christmas lights. Yeah, I'm early this year. And Danny was out raking leaves. We got to talking across the fence, and somehow the subject of that Christmas dinner came up. Ever regret it? I asked. He leaned on his rake, looked at his house, where I could see Sarah through the window practicing her violin, where I knew Michael was probably upstairs doing homework or playing video games. Not even once, he said. Best $6,500 I ever spent. Because of the truck? Because of what it represented. Drawing a line. Saying enough. Standing up for what I knew was right, even when everyone was telling me I was wrong. He smiled. My dad's coming down for Christmas this year. We're doing dinner here. Just us, the kids, my sister and her family. Jen's gonna join us. It's gonna be small and simple and perfect. No drama? No drama. Just people who actually love each other, not people who guilt each other in the name of love. I raised my coffee mug in a mock toast. To quiet men with loud truths. He laughed. I'll drink to that. So yeah, that's the story. My neighbor, my friend Danny Harper, who threw a Christmas bonus into his marriage like a grenade and walked away from the explosion with his kids and his dignity intact.
Who chose his father over his brother-in-law, his principles over his wife's demands, and peace over the illusion of family harmony. The whole town knows the story now. Some people think Danny was wrong, that you don't give up on a marriage over money. But most people, especially those of us who know the full story, we understand. We see Danny out there living his life, raising his kids right, taking care of his father, and we think, that's a man who knows what matters. I'm proud to call him my friend. I'm proud to have been there to see it all unfold. And I'm damn proud that when it mattered, when the pressure was on, and everyone was telling him to cave, to compromise, to sacrifice himself one more time, he stood his ground. That takes guts. That takes character. That takes knowing your own worth. If you're reading this and you're facing something similar, if you're being asked to set yourself on fire to keep someone else's family warm, I want you to know something. You're not selfish for saying no. You're not wrong for drawing boundaries. You're not cruel for choosing the people who actually have your back. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable people who won't help themselves. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stand alone. And sometimes the best gift you can give isn't the one everyone expects. It's the one that honors the people who truly deserve it. Danny knew that. And now his father has a truck that'll outlast him. His kids have a father they respect and trust. And he has a life that's authentically his own. Not a bad return on a $6,500 investment. If you've seen something similar on your street, in your family, in your own life, you're not alone. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's being told they're selfish for wanting to live their own life. Someone who's drowning under the weight of other people's expectations. Tell them about Danny Harper and his Silverado. Tell them it's okay to choose yourself sometimes. Tell them that quiet men can change their whole world with a single decision. And sometimes the right decision looks like a used truck in a driveway. Thanks for listening.
And if you ever find yourself next door to a situation like this, be the neighbor I tried to be. Listen, support, don't judge, and keep a cold beer ready in the garage.
You never know when someone's going to need it.